We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
The Dialogue, the community voice of Southern California's young professional network. Relevant discussions about the thoughts, concerns, opportunities, and challenges faced by today's generational leaders. Real talk, real people. This is The Dialogue. The Dialogue with Starlett Quarles on LA Talk Live and streaming live at www.latalklive.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. I'm your host, Starlett Quarles. We're live at LATalkLive.com and also streaming in Omaha, Nebraska at 1690 AM. The one, the voice of the voiceless. As always, The Dialogue is the voice of our generation, so thank you so much for joining us here every Wednesday from 5 to 6, where we like to discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. All month long, we have been talking about the Black agenda. We started this conversation off talking about family and community. We moved to education, then health. Last week, we talked about the criminal justice system and politics. And tonight, we are concluding our series on the Black agenda on economic development, especially here in Los Angeles when we have a new mayor that we're going to be electing this upcoming May. And speaking of which, we want to remind you to join us on May 11th at the LA Convention Center for a dialogue with Black LA. This is an opportunity for the Black community to have their say and their voice on what we want the next mayor to do over the next 4 years in our local Black communities here in Los Angeles. So if you haven't visited our website, please do so at dwbla.com. That is dwbla.com. And we would love to get your comments and thoughts on the Black agenda as it relates to us here in Los Angeles. So upload your video and your comments or your questions on our Facebook page at facebook.com/thedialoguela. Now, for tonight's panel, we have our guest for tonight on economic development, friend to the dialogue, longtime friend to the dialogue, Michael Banner of the Los Angeles LDC, Commissioner Valerie Shaw of the Board of Public Works, and Apostle Chris Ward of Crenshaw Christian Center, all here to talk about economic development and the Black agenda. So make sure you give us a call in the second half of our show at 323-247-7443, and you can always tweet me your comments or your questions at StarQuar or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thedialoguela. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by Urban X Marketing and the Los Angeles Wave newspaper. You can always check out our Wave each week in the Los Angeles Wave newspaper or on their website at wavenewspapers.com. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about money, y'all. Money in the Black community, economic development, and the Black agenda here on The Dialogue today with me, Starlett Quarles. We'll be right back.
Don't let money rule you. How many things have I heard you say? Don't let money fool you.
Are you tired of getting sick and tired? Are you tired of doctors not knowing what's wrong with you? D-Herbs may have the answer. D-Herbs, #1 in herbal remedies. D-Herbs' main goal is to enlighten and properly educate people to the importance of human health and nutrition. D-Herbs, home of the full body cleanse. Everyone needs to cleanse. If you eat meat and dairy products, you need to cleanse. If you're eating processed foods, you need to cleanse. 90% of today's diseases that we suffer from are diet related. Cleansing opens the door to healing and rejuvenation. Whether you need help with a chronic disease, weight loss, or to jumpstart and eliminate fatigue, D-Herbs Full Body Cleanse can help. There's a better way to live and healthier way to live. Experience healing. Visit us at dherbs.com. That's DHERBS.com. Or call us at 866-434-3727. That's 866-434-3727.
Get the biggest and fastest refunds on the planet, guaranteed. One call to First Quality Tax Service does it. First Quality Tax Service is committed to their motto of triple protection, worry-free, peace of mind, accuracy guaranteed. In these difficult economic times, First Quality Tax Service has created options to help you avoid the upfront cost of their service, which means no out-of-pocket expense for you. Assisting in personal and business tax preparation. Call 310-677-1047. That's 310-677-1047. Or stop by 1401 North La Brea Avenue on the corner of 64th Place and La Brea.
Nigga one, guy. Word up. Look out for the cops, though. Cash fruit. Word up. 2 for 5s over here, baby. Word up. 2 for 5s. Some niggas got garbage down the way.
Welcome back to the dialogue. Real talk, real people. Cream, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. We are talking about money, economic development today, and the Black agenda. Let me introduce our guests. Commissioner Valerie Shaw is here joining us, who is with the LA Board of Public Works. She is the first African-American woman to be president of the Board of Public Works from 2001 to 2005. She's also the longest-serving woman in the 100-year history of the Board of Public Works, and she also held the position of vice president of the Board of Public Works from 2007 to 2008. Since 2008, she has been working to help develop a strategic plan for South LA. So please welcome Commissioner Valerie Shaw to the dialogue. Welcome, ma'am. Longtime friend of the dialogue, Mr. Michael Banner. Welcome back, sir.
Always happy to be with you, Star.
President of the Los Angeles LDC, which is a community development financial institution founded in 1980 by Mayor Tom Bradley to serve the neighborhoods in Los Angeles that suffered from redlining and disinvestment. Michael Banner is now the president of the Los Angeles LDC, which is facilitated or funded over $200 million of financing for businesses and real estate development projects in distressed communities throughout the city of Los Angeles. Please welcome friend to the dialogue, Michael Banner.
Wow.
And last but not least is Apostle Chris Ward, who is a fellowship member of the Ward International Ministries and Foundation. He also has a background in real estate and financial literacy, and he's here today to talk about the church's role in improving the economic infrastructure of our Black community. So please welcome Apostle Chris Ward to the dialogue. Welcome.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today.
So let me get right into our conversation. I'm going to throw out a question to our panel. And Mike, I'm going to start with you. For our audience, please just define the concept of economic development. What is economic development?
Well, from my perspective, economic development, you really have to focus on the concept that you have to create net new wealth.
Okay.
Economic development should be distinguished from real estate development, which a lot of people think real estate development is economic development.
Okay.
Although real estate development is a component of it. To the extent that you can help create industries or sectors that create employment opportunities that increase wealth and value, then you have economic development.
Okay, Valerie.
Well, I agree with Michael.
Move a little bit closer to the mic.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with Michael, but I sort of like to look at it in a simplistic way and say the economic development really is job creation, business development, and real estate development.
Okay, very good.
I think economic development is anything that creates accumulated wealth that can be passed on to the next generation.
Okay, so what would you say, Pastor, is the state of today's Black community? What is the financial and economic status of LA's Black community?
Well, where I work in the schools that are in underserved neighborhoods. It's not good, and it's gotten worse because of the dissemination of the family being broken down, and then these kids are being raised without their fathers, and it's just gotten worse over the time. And I tell them, listen, 0 divided by 2 is still 0. 0 divided by 3 is still 0. In other words, when you keep having children coming into a family structure and there's no father and the income is not increasing beyond that, then it just makes for a bad situation. And it really shapes their mindset to be in poverty. In other words, to be someone who will take county, whatever. And that's been part of my struggle, is to elevate the mindsets of people with the gospel, to show them that God is a viable alternative and that he will show them how to accumulate wealth.
Okay, so Valerie, you work in City Hall, and at least from your perspective, what is the state of our Black communities from an economic standpoint? What are we looking like?
Well, I would sort of agree with the pastor. I think it's in decline. know that several people have done studies to look at the net worth of African Americans, and Michael would know the probably exact number, but I want to say it's probably around $10,000 for the
The
average.
last number I saw
$10,000?
was $6,900, I believe.
That's correct.
The
For
net
that-
worth?
That is correct.
Mhm.
For the
I saw
average
one
African American.
57 recently.
What is it
so-
for? What is it for the
Primarily
Hispanic community?
because we're not homeowners.
7.
That's one of the
You
major.
said primarily is it because it's lack of home ownership? Okay, Michael, what would you say? I mean, even from the real estate and from the business development standpoint, what are we looking like in our communities?
Well, I think if you look at what you characterize as recent research, I think in 2005, Urban League looked at a lot of cities.
Okay.
And in LA, the United Way connected with the Urban League and did a localized study. And I think the date is 2005.
Okay.
And at that particular time, and since, if you think about it, since 2005, we've had an economic tsunami that actually kind of started to kick in at the tail end of 2005. So situation is probably worse than what it was in 2005. It wasn't good in 2005. And I can remember from the analysis, they gave a 100% score. And the African American community, black community in Los Angeles County came in at 0.69.
Wow.
0.69, the lowest of all the ethnic communities in the
Lowest.
county.
That is horrible.
I heard.
So-
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
I heard another study said that the average with the study they just did, $5,700 is what they die with, and that's just tragic. It's tragic.
So what areas are in most need in South LA? What areas are in most need of South LA of redevelopment and financial assistance? Is there any particular community, or is it just South LA in general?
I think South LA in general.
Okay.
It's the poorest region within the city, and there's just been a dearth of interest, particularly in developing the corridors.
So Valerie, let me start with you. So explain the role of the Public Works Department. What exactly does the
Well,
Public
the
Works
Board of Public Works is a 5-member commission. We're all appointed by the mayor, and I was initially appointed by Mayor Reardon, and then I was the president under Hahn and retained by Mayor Villaraigosa. And the 5 members act as a general manager of the Department of Public Works, which is the 3rd largest department in the city. We have about 5,000 employees, and we have an annual budget of $1.8 billion a year.
Okay.
And what we do is we provide most of the services that people view as city services. We are charged with maintaining the physical infrastructure of the city. The streets, the lights, the roads, the sewers. We build the municipal facilities. I'm the lead commissioner on the engineering bureau, and we, work to build libraries and police stations and child care centers, the like.
Okay, and so how effective or what is your role in terms of what work have you done within South LA?
Well, about 5 years ago, the mayor came to me and asked me to follow up on the work of Dr. Denise Fairchild. When the mayor first came into office, he wanted to do something significant in South LA. And Denise moved forward and moved on to Washington, D.C. They asked me to bring synergy to projects in South Los Angeles. And I said, Mayor, that's a wonderful idea. We have to go to the council members and see where they'll join you in this effort.
Okay.
And so he did that, and they came up with the mayor and the council members came up with about 105 programs and projects that they were going to move forward and add resources to make happen in South LA. We call it the South LA Initiatives. There are 10 initiative areas, and we're at the end of the program right now, just as of last year.
And how were you able to do? What type of?
Well, what we try to do is jumpstart a lot of things that were languishing, we're not moving forward. And we feel we were even successful, even given the fact that Michael said that economic downturn and the demise of CRA, we still sort of move forward. And we have several retail projects. We think thousands of job placements, thousands of housing units were created in South LA. There was an infrastructure academy created to help young people learn about the various trades, public information, just a bevy of things that were able to happen and move in the area of South Los Angeles.
Now talk about the proposed new economic development department in the city of LA, and then Michael, then I want you to piggyback on that.
Yeah, there is a study now and a process in City Council, supported by the Mayor's Office, to create a new Department of Economic Development that is working in concert with a new nonprofit economic development entity.
Okay.
And the department will be to bring all the elements of economic development that exist in the mayor's office and various departments under one department, and to provide services. And the nonprofit will sort of be the deal-making entity to make things happen in terms of real estate development.
Okay, Michael.
Well, yeah, I think that's from my perspective. I've got the gray hair to show that I've been around long enough. This discussion about the change of the operating structure of economic development within the city.
Okay.
That's gone on for several decades.
Okay.
Periodically, there's been, I can go back to when Mark Ridley Thomas chaired what was then Community and Economic Development Committee. There was a discussion about should CDD be combined with CRA. So this discussion has gone on.
And CDD mean the acronym?
Community Development Department.
And CRA?
And CRA is a Community Redevelopment Agency. So there's always been this discussion about it. I think that, quite frankly, where we are today as a city, that we have so many issues that you have to think about consolidation anyway, just because of the fact that it's so tough.
Okay.
And putting your resources into an organization, whether it be a nonprofit organization, is a smart way to do it. And this happens all over the country. LA probably is considered late in coming to the party with actually working through this. From my talking to people in the business community, a lot of people tend to believe that if it's ever going to happen, it's probably going to happen now. But I would say one of the things that, at least in my experience, coming from the private sector into working with the government over the last 20 years, there's a different rhythm that happens in the private sector in terms of getting things done versus in the public sector. So when you bring those two things together, you have to find a way to make them work together to achieve some mutually shared goals and objective. I'm not so sure from where I sit today, because this is still a concept, it's not really fleshed out totally, that the private sector buy-in that you need to make this work. I think people are still going to sit on the fence and be a little distrustful of what you actually get in a quote-unquote public-private partnership, given the history of how tough it is to do business in Los Angeles.
Okay, very good. Now, Valerie, in your introduction, I mentioned since 2008, you have been working on the strategic plan for South LA. So tell us about that process and how the past 5 years has evolved in terms of the evolution of the strategic plan.
Yeah, well, we tried to involve the mayor's office, the council office, and also the community. Actually, Michael serves on our community advisory board. And I think probably the most valuable element of the process is what's called a performance measurement mechanism.
Okay.
And what it does is this process involves the political strata and 15 departments. There are 105 programs and projects that we're trying to move forward. And how we do that is that every month the departments report to my strategic planning team about their progress, and every quarter we report to the community advisory board and also the steering committee, which is comprised of the political strata representatives, and they report about the progress of the 105 programs and projects.
So talk
and as
about
a result
some
of that,
okay, go ahead.
As a result of that, we've been able to move things forward.
So talk about some of your achievements.
Well, some of the things, there's going to be a report coming out in April, so I really don't want to, talk
give us
too
preview
much
of
about it. But I can give you
attractions.
some highlights, things that are, obviously happening. In Midtown Crossing, you saw that here in CD10. It's opened and it's completed, and they're negotiating with retailers to occupy the new retail space that's available. District Square on Rodeo and Crenshaw, is the developer is securing the financing, and that project is moving forward. It should start this year. We're trying to help small markets convert and have healthier foods. One in CD10 Oaks Junior Market and others in various parts of South LA.
Okay.
The other thing that people don't know much about, and I know Michael's been working on it for years too, is the Watchstar project. They are actually going to happen. I think it's been in development for 15 years to bring theaters to Watts. Barbara Stanton has been, and her group has been working. They finally have the financing. They're looking for tax credits. I think they have at least half of those tax credits they need, and we believe that's going to start construction this year.
And I am proud to say that my father is the chairman of that board.
Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful.
Well, I've had many meetings with Chuck and that project over the last 5 years.
But Barbara she's been so committed. I mean, I can't believe that there has not been a theater in Watts for over 40 years.
Absolutely.
And not within a mile of the city. So applaud can we get a round of applause for Barbara Stanton and her Watts Star
that's right.
project? Richard, where's the applause? So where do you go from here? 2012 was last year from the strategic plan. What happens now?
Well, we ended our 5-year strategic plan, and we hope that the next administration will continue on with the process.
Okay, very good. Michael, let me get to you. Oh, you want to say something?
Let me just say something about this, because I work with Valerie on this, and I was actually poised to work with Denise on it when she was going to take a lead on this. And I think one of the most important things that happened is the fact that you took a process that Public Works used to manage large-scale projects, and you introduced it into this whole realm of how do we know what's going on with our economic development activities. Right. I think that was very, very critical, because now there's a roadmap on how to think about managing those things from a system that has worked for years for the city. So I think, to Valerie's credit, that's a very, very critical thing. And the other example that I will give that fits in this realm is the efforts that have gone into the LA River Revitalization Corporation, that whole strategy. Those are notions of large scale plans that have been really developed. And now when the new administration comes in or somebody takes over, there's always been a tendency about, okay, let me create my own vision and start all over again. And you have this kind of distraction that goes on. Now there's a plan that looks like it's credible. If you just stay with the plan, we'll get some results.
Okay. And now, Michael, talk a little bit more about the work of the Los Angeles LDC. Like I said, it was founded by Mayor Tom Bradley. So talk about what a community development financial institution is and the work of the LA LDC.
Well, it's first of all, it's a nonprofit corporation, just like what's being proposed here with this new economic development department. And it, quite frankly,
so the economic development department is a nonprofit entity?
They were going to create a nonprofit organization to be able to be the lead on this.
Okay.
So the LDC is kind of the 1980s version of that thought process. And the other interesting thing about it is, when I worked in City Hall, when Dick Riordan got elected, they created their own other nonprofit, which is Genesis LA, to do very similar kind of things. So you do get this kind of successions of organizations, and you don't keep supporting the ones you start.
Okay.
So that's just some psychosis that the city has to work on. But we finance projects only in distressed and low-income communities. That's our sole purpose, our sole mission. You know, I'm not doing stuff in Westwood Village. I'm in South LA. I'm in East LA. I'm in Pacoima. And our role is to try to make sure that development projects, small businesses, get access to the appropriate capital to allow them to take the shot that they need to take. And generally, there are barriers to that, where regulated financial institutions, your local bank, may feel that that's not the appropriate thing for them to finance.
Okay.
So it comes to me to help try and figure out, and effectively, I try to use my relationships with the same banks that won't lend somebody money because of my relationships. I try to figure out how to get a little bit of that money in, hopefully get things started, and then turn it over to the bank once we've proven that, look, it does work, guys.
So what percentage of the businesses that you work with are black?
99% of everything we do are with borrowers of color.
Excellent.
I would say in the last 5 years, probably about 20% of what we have done have been with borrowers who are African American. It's primarily been African American, Latino, and Asian borrowers in the last decade.
Which of the three, which has been the majority?
It's kind of from a dollar standpoint, probably Asians in terms of the most dollars. In terms of the number of transactions, probably Latino.
Okay. So what are some of the challenges with black businesses and financing black businesses?
It's a challenge with all businesses generally that are small, for one. So it has nothing to do with ethnicity. When you start to look at the ethnic parts of this, we go back to what I mentioned earlier in terms of the United Way study that was done and the discussion about whether or not you have net worth. Because if you want to fund a business and take a risk, you got to have some capital to do that. To the extent you don't have capital within your ethnic group, it's very difficult to expand and grow businesses. If you have capital in your ethnic group, you have a much easier time of trying to do that. So,
and we often see that with the Hispanic community. I mean, they really pull their resources together, as well as the Asian community. They often are pulling all their resources. And we often talk about the challenges with recycling black dollars and supporting each other. So that, I mean, could that lend to some of the challenges with mobilizing money for black businesses?
It will help. It will help. I got asked to sit in on a project that's starting with the Federal Reserve Bank to look at small businesses nationally. It's being done in conjunction with Pepperdine's Graduate School of Business to try to create a small business health index.
Okay.
So would be very similar to what the United Way did with the state of Black LA. So you could have something as what's the state of black businesses in Los Angeles. So people will then have a reference of how to do that. And I really believe that if you don't put your money in a place where you want to try to make it happen, it's not going to happen. So it's incumbent on us to invest with our own businesses if we want these businesses to grow and flourish. Because if we don't do it, somebody else is going to be there providing the services, and guess where the money is going to go?
Have we not built up Koreatown just from our hair and our nails alone? I mean, really? I mean, what is the state of black businesses in the community? I mean, Pastor, let me get you in on this. What is the state of black businesses in our community?
Well, the mindset has to be changed in the African American community to one of investment instead of one of being a consumer. You know, when you look at the athletes, because I was a Hall of Fame professional football player, and the first thing I bought, okay, not knowing any better because my father had a 6th grade education, my mother graduated high school, but nobody told me about buying something that appreciated versus something that decreases in value. The minute you drive that car off the lot, you lost money on it.
Right.
So to teach people how to invest in their own future, put them in vehicles, and that's kind of what I'm doing with them. And World Financial Group works with the 98% of Middle America.
So at what age do we start these lessons?
Well, if you can get to the minds of the young peoples, which is what I'm doing now, I'm teaching biblical economics to them, and that is serve the Lord, use your faith, and God will bless you, because that's how I've been able to function. Been all over the world and 1 million people saved and what have you, and giving away $1 million of my own money in the inner cities to develop. I've started, me and my wife spent $13,000 one time to create an internet business to encourage young African Americans. And the first day that we kicked that program off, so we had all the bells and whistles, it was the internet, going to teach them how to sell stuff on eBay, which was big at the time. The first week, it was about 20 people there. The second week, it dropped to 5. The third week, it was 3. So they don't understand investing of their time, of their money, to give additional income flows for the future. Okay. They don't understand the investment model, period. The investment means I'm putting something away. I have an expected return for it. They couldn't even see the benefit of spending 2 hours a week. And I did very well with it. After I was like, I told my wife, I said, well, it's just us. Well, let's see what we can do with it. And I had one young man, he kind of stayed and what have you. But it was a website business. They could not see that. Why? It's a consumer mentality. It's concerts. It's basketball games.
The
it's
material
cars.
Things. Absolutely.
It is things that you get no increase on.
Right. Okay. And we're going to come back to you on the commercial after the commercial break and talk about the church's impact on economic development. But Michael, before we go to commercial, you recently went to the Novogradac New Market Tax Credits in San Diego. So first of all, share with our audience, what are New Market Tax Credits and what did you learn from this Novogradac conference?
So New Market Tax Credits, a federal program that literally makes available billions of dollars annually of tax credits that are designed to stimulate investment in low-income communities. So the federal government will say, if you will invest in South LA, we will take your investment and give you a tax credit for that. which means if you make money on your investment, you don't pay any taxes on it. So therefore your yield is a lot higher. It's a way to attract capital to places it normally would not go as an incentive. Because we don't have redevelopment agencies anymore, we're probably going to have to think about those kinds of tools a lot more here in Los Angeles. In terms of me going to the conference, I was on the actual National New Markets Tax Credit Coalition when the program was started. So, and actually, I held the first New Market Tax Credit Conference in LA.
Okay.
So I didn't go to kind of learn the nuts and bolts. It's a relationship-driven industry. You have to go and meet the folks the banks that have the capital that want to invest, the people who have the projects, and then all of the consultants, lawyers that you actually have to pay to make this happen.
So, and how many black people were there?
Probably 20.
Out of thousands?
25. Maybe about 400, 500 people.
Oh, we got to do better. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion on economic development and the Black agenda. We're going to talk about what the church is doing and how the church can help improve the economic infrastructure of our Black communities here in Los Angeles. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Bad times are coming, and I reap what I done sowed. Hey, hey. Well, let me tell you something. All that glitters ain't gold. Hey, hey. It's been a long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load. I need a dollar. That's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, I'm Starlett Quarles of the Dialogue. On November 6, 2012, we voted in record numbers. Not only did we re-elect our nation's first Black president, Barack Obama, but we also let our voices be heard on so many issues that are impacting our communities across the country. However, this year in Los Angeles, we'll have another opportunity to let our voices be heard. In March, we'll elect a new mayor, and this new mayor will govern our city for at least 4 years. And he or she will help to decide on issues that will impact our communities for years to come. As the city of LA moves in a new direction, we need to make sure that the Black community's concerns are not only being heard, but that actions being taken to make sure that they're being put into effect. So what do we need? What does LA's Black community want? We know that there hasn't been a Black agenda or succession plan put in place for this generation, but now we have the opportunity and the challenge to create one. So join me on May 11th at the LA Convention Center for a dialogue with Black LA. This event is dedicated to bringing Los Angeles' Black community together to discuss how we can be a part of the new mayor's agenda for the city of Los Angeles. Let your voice be heard. Be a part of this historic movement and progressive conversation. Now, space is limited, so make sure you pre-register today to claim your seat and your voice at A Dialogue with Black LA. To pre-register, please click on the link below or visit our website at dwbla.eventbrite.com. Thank you, and I'll see you on May 11th.
Interested in advertising your business, product, or service here on The Dialogue? Call 323-547-7748. The Dialogue will help you promote your business, increase your traffic, and bring in new clients through innovative and creative marketing packages, including affordable radio ad campaigns for small businesses. Find out more. Call 323-547-7748. That's 323-547-7748. Or go to www.thedialoguela.com. And now, back to The Dialogue. The Dialogue with Starlett Quarles. Real talk, real people.
I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad. Buy all of the things I never had.
Welcome back to the Dialogue. Don't you want to be a billionaire?
I wish I was.
Bruno Mars is my boy.
Welcome back to the Dialogue. Real talk, real
More money,
people.
more problems. I don't want to be.
More money, more problems. We doing hip hop quotes up here.
I do.
We are talking about economic development and the Black agenda here today on the Dialogue. So, and we want to hear from you. 323-247-7443. Again, 323-247-7443. Or tweet your question to me at @StarQuar. But Pastor, before I get to you, we have a tweet. Someone texted me a question for you, Valerie, specifically. It says, at some point, are the community members in a position to take advantage of new jobs, etc., given the dismal education status?
Okay. Well, no, education is important. You have to have at least a high school diploma if you're going to move forward in this society. That's just real. But one of the things we're trying to do at the city, particularly the Black Personnel Association, is trying to begin to train young people, particularly, to access the jobs that are coming.
Okay.
In the next, I'd say 2 to 4 years, the city will be hiring again. We have 50,000 employees. 14% of city employees are African American. We want to maintain that number.
Okay.
And so, but you have to know how to fill out the paperwork, take the tests. And so the Black Personnel Association are training people to do just that for the upcoming new jobs.
So is 14% considered a lot compared to the other ethnicities?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Our population is 8%.
Okay.
We
All
want to
right.
maintain the 14%
All
of city
right.
employees.
Okay. Very good.
Uh-huh.
Apostle Ward, let's talk about the church and its role in improving the economic infrastructure of our Black communities. Discuss the overall financial status of our Black churches.
It's not good. I was the
Maybe it's
president.
not good. We got some mega churches and
You
millionaire
do.
pastors.
You do, but when you look at the, in South LA, there's a church on every corner.
That is true.
Okay, and 5 liquor stores. Okay, so when you look at, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people would bring a complete tenth of their money to the church. It's dropped now to under 4%.
What do you think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think
Well,
that's
it's a recession, and the first thing that happened, charitable giving, period, not only in the church but to nonprofits, is down. So people are feeling the pinch, the added pressure. They're not as willing to give as they want to. And the Black church was extremely hit hard. Okay, and so you got mega churches, but what is the impact of the churches in these neighborhoods?
Absolutely.
And I'm not hating on anybody or anything, because I went to Crenshaw and have seen a lot of larger churches. What is the impact?
Right.
Jesus said, go ye in all the world and preach the gospel. You cannot find anywhere in the Gospels where he said go to church. Now, Paul talked about it, okay, not preaching, but just giving you biblical facts. And when you go into the world and begin to expend your time, your money, your words to help people who cannot give you an immediate inducement, okay, in other words, you servicing people who can't help you, the Holy Spirit will get in and cause some money to come your direction. And that's what I did. As a traditional pastor for 7 years on the corner of Hillcrest and Florence. There's a nice little church there. And I was going to take that building. God said, no, you're going into high schools. And I looked at my wife. I was like, well, how is this going to work? I'm leaving vis-a-vis a somewhat secure, to go into a place where the people that I'm serving can really give me nothing.
Okay.
But God got behind me. As we began to dispense money to help the kids and do whatever, he got behind me. He took me into real estate. I became a real estate agent, and then I became a loan officer. And then I had my branch office where I did both. He moved me up, and we took this. Me and my wife had made a vow to give 50% of it back into the kingdom. And so as he moved us up, I did the branch office thing. And then we know what happened in 07 and 08. And the Lord told me to get out. All the houses that you have invested in, sell every one of them. So I didn't lose a nickel.
See what happens when we listen to the Holy Spirit?
You better listen to the Holy Spirit. And that's what happened. So he prospered us. And for three years, me and my wife funded radio and television out of our pocket.
Okay. So what is the mindset? What would you say is the business mindset of the pastors in the Black community?
Well, many of them are brilliant men, but they're afraid to get outside the four walls of the church and to break that model. In other words, they've got to now stop seeing the people based on what they can give them and start seeing what they can give to the people to empower them. Many of them have brilliant minds.
Okay.
They are business leaders. And, you and I talked about just briefly. So, people say, well, pastors shouldn't have a salary. Listen, some of the pastors who have salaries are brilliant men. They're administrators. They save these churches hundreds of thousands of dollars to use their gift outside of preaching. Why shouldn't they get a salary for that? I've never been able to do it, but I just.
Well,
I
said, the conversation we had, I was talking to a pastor, and he said that none of the pastors should get salaries, but that they should get offerings. You know what I mean? They're not supposed to be making money off the church's profit, but that the congregation should be giving them offerings in terms of their, ministry to.
Well, that's true. That is biblical. The Bible says the man of God should take the offering, not raise it, not lift it. Okay? Take an offering. Mm-hmm. You should only take one per service. Okay? Not 6, not 5, not 4. Take one, preach the word up and down, ask God to bless the people, and then take your offering and worship God with it, and he'll multiply the people.
Okay, so discuss some tangible ways that the church can help increase the wealth of the black community.
Wow. They're going to have to get outside the church. That's the number one problem with black churches. They spend 90% of their income, dealing with people who are 90% already saved, as opposed to taking that 90% and getting outside. Then they will see more money. Mm-hmm. And I've been very fortunate. And when I started doing that, God always gave me benefactors. He always worked a miracle for me to get stuff done. You understand what I'm saying? And me and my wife made a lot of sacrifices, but as we got outside, they got to get outside the four walls of the church. We pay musicians thousands of dollars, and we got all this rent or lease payment that we have. We got lights and gas and water to maintain this, and the janitor that we pay to do what? To service people who are already saved.
Okay. All right.
I have a question, because I find this kind of fascinating that if the way you serve people is changing, and it seems to me that technology is playing a role in that, even in religion, that you can get people to take their phone, dial in, and watch a webcast of your service, and not physically have to sit there in the pews. Mm-hmm. So your ability to get outside is a lot easier now.
If you be leveraging social media and the internet.
Well, that's true, but there is a biblical principle that when someone is in the presence of the anointing, in close proximity to the vessel of God, in the presence, the anointing works a little better, more so than it does on TV or on the internet. Because I send MP3s to over 1,000 people. When people send me emails, junk mail, I put them on the.
Yeah, but I know Joel Osteen ain't no millionaire just from the people that's sitting in his church. I mean, he has an online ministry. He got tapes. He got books. I mean, he's making money hand over fist.
Well, when you look at Joel Osteen, you have to understand he's a second or third generation preacher, and the blessing increases each generation. His dad was a faithful servant of the Lord. He died suddenly, and Joel was cast into that. Well, he's reaping the harvest of what his father did for 40 years.
The brand equity.
The brand equity. In other words, his father sold into the kingdom. A lot of people don't look at that. The blessing or the curse gets bigger, better, or worse from generation to generation. Well, his father was a holy man, and he preached, and after when that 40 years was up, he died suddenly. And Joel Osteen was cast into T.D. Jakes, and I admire them guys. I really do. I'm hoping that I can get with them one day. Hallelujah. I ain't mad. A lot of people hate on. Oh man, look at him. Oh no, that's
what
wonderful.
About Bishop Long? What's your thoughts on him?
Oh.
I had to do it.
Yeah, you had comment. Well,
no comment.
I'm just hoping the Spirit of God will restore him.
Okay, very good. So go ahead, Valerie.
I just want to say something about ministers. What we try to do with as an offshoot of South LA Initiative is to go out and educate them on the power matrix in City Hall and how things actually operate. And I think that we've done that with the ministers associated with Angeles, Noel Jones ministers, the Baptist Convention ministers, again, showing them how City Hall operates.
Have they benefited from that? Have they leveraged it? Have they learned?
I think they have. Additionally, though, I think that they also need classes in financial matters, because I don't really believe they really understand.
No, they don't.
Because they're staying within the confines of the church. They don't really understand how the financial world operates.
Okay,
I really don't believe.
All right. So before we move on, so with the state of the black community today, what would Jesus say?
Oh my
God! What would Jesus say?
Hold on.
He would say, y'all need to get it
together.
He
said, hold on.
Y'all need to get it together. Y'all need to get it together quick and get back to this Bible model that I left and away from all this religious stuff. And then guess what? You'll see a change. Mm-hmm. When you look at.
Did Jesus teach financial literacy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's there. There's all kinds of financial principles. I would love to come back and do a show and show people that, because that's how I live.
So the people of the church, if we're following His word and we're trying to be Christ-like, then we should be more prosperous, should we not?
Well, and you said a
Because
mouthful.
we need to invest in ourselves and
Right.
not so much the churches, these big edifices.
Okay.
We need, instead of, you need to
Invest in
tithe to your
people.
family. Family needs
Invest
to
in
tithe
people.
too.
If you have revenue incoming and you have more outgoing,
Mhm.
you're destitute. So the consumption is really what you have to look at. If I have a revenue stream, what am I doing with it?
Okay.
Am I not investing in any of it, and it's all going out in consumption?
Okay, so let's bring it back to our topic at hand, which is economic development. And specifically, we have a new mayor that we're going to be electing in May. So with this new mayor, what do we need to be thinking about as a Black community? What do we need to be holding them accountable to? And Pastor, I'm going to start with you.
Oh my God, I try to stay out of politics. Can I say that? That's
No,
not.
wait a second. You can't stay out of politics. What are you talking about? You talking about power?
I run.
She
I
just said
run.
she just had the ministers come
I
to
run.
the.
I know she did.
No,
God bless
no,
her.
that's where the power is.
And
That's
I don't
the problem.
mean that negatively, but I just try to stay out of that and serve as many people as I can.
Martin Luther
because-
King didn't.
Well, that's true, but he was a prophet that was called to put his finger on this country for racial inequalities.
But even irrespective of your religious belief, as a citizen of Los Angeles, what do you want your new mayor to do for your people?
Well, he needs to reach into these neighborhoods and help work with some of these kids and these families, help rebuild the Black family. I think if they come up with some stuff to do that, you'll see a marketable change, because a family where you have a mother that is not married cannot hold the blessing of God.
Okay.
So, and I teach literacy, family literacy with the women, listen, abstention and all this stuff. We have programs where we deal with that. We deal with that through the gospel in some of these locations. So
Okay.
I think that's what the mayor can do if they can support something like that, which would probably be more apostolic than political, but it'll work.
All right, very good, Valerie. What do we need to be holding our mayor, our new mayor, accountable to?
Yeah, we need to have a plan.
Okay.
And then we need to have a performance measure mechanism associated with that plan, an accountability system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happens is with all the powers that be, that they know the African American community is good at advocacy, but not good at follow-up. They know that.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll meet us in the moment, but not in the long term,
Okay.
because we never follow up.
Very good.
So we need to have that plan and move that plan forward. And the plan needs to involve power.
Mm-hmm.
How do we have power in City Hall? And you have that through having powerful people in the mayor's office, department heads, commission presidents, and policies in areas that impact African Americans, jobs, education, housing, nonprofit support.
So we need to demand that the mayor create some opportunities for African American leadership in City Hall.
Yeah, we need to advocate.
Okay.
Demanding is sort of controversial. We
Fair
need
enough.
to advocate and measure, advocate
You
and
know, I'll be
measure.
trying to be controversial.
Advocate
You
and
sound like the
measure.
Godfather. Where he says, no, don't suggest.
Michael, what do you want to hold the mayor to?
Well, first of all, I think that it's fair to say
Clearly
that
you're going with Garcetti.
whoever the next mayor is got a lot of stuff to deal with. I mean, the
Okay.
city, in some respects, the region has structural problems.
Okay.
So let's not assume that whoever gets elected, and even if it is Eric, that all of a sudden they wave some magic wand and all the stuff is gone.
So why are you voting for Eric?
Because I think we need to have somebody in office now who can articulate a long-term vision and get people excited about it.
Okay.
We cannot do same time, same place, and like rearrange the decks, the chairs a little bit, and think that's going to happen. And I think from my experience, and I know the top leading candidates, I've known them from anywhere from 15 to 25 years, and I've worked with all of them.
Okay.
That I just feel that Eric has the ability to articulate a vision, and not to say that the other ones can't. I just think that he's going to come across to the general population as more credible in changing how people think about Los Angeles.
Okay.
Los Angeles is a great brand across the world. It is a great
Really?
brand.
I know it doesn't seem like the Black community got a good brand.
No, I said Los Angeles
Oh,
is a great brand. So
okay.
now it's a question, what are we doing as part of our subset
Okay.
in that brand? And you have to get someone who's willing to help elevate you. I was just looking at something. Silicon Beach is this word you hear every day now. Silicon Beach. So what is Silicon Beach? Silicon Beach is effectively the Silicon Valley experience here in Los Angeles. But if you think about it, when people say Silicon Beach in the subtext, it means West Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
So how do we have a Silicon Beach-like experience in South Los Angeles? What is our Silicon Beach? Who's going to help us articulate it? Who's going to put a plan into place that we can work on for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years to move us in that direction? And I think that's going to be incumbent upon whoever is the mayor has to start to be able to do that. And I don't really believe at the end of the day, although it's important, that a major transportation system solves all these problems. The trains and the buses got to go someplace. So what do you do when you get off the train or the bus, and what community are you standing in?
Right. Now, not only are we electing a new mayor, but we have some council elections coming up. So just talk about the need for Black people to be more engaged in local politics, not just from the mayoral, but from all these local elections as well. Valerie.
Well, I'm a city commissioner, so I can't really talk too much or take any positions on any council members or any.
Or just the need for us to be more civically engaged.
Well, I
involved
think absolutely we need to be more and more civically engaged.
Okay.
But again, we need to be more focused on advocacy. That is the answer to our problem. You know, and you know, if otherwise, when I go out and speak, I say, if the people will lead, the leaders will follow. If the people will lead, the leaders will follow. The problem is the people never lead. So the leaders get to do what they want to do, you know, and operate in the way they think is in the interest of the people.
So do you think we hold our Black politicians as celebrities versus politicians?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Being the president of the Ministers Association, you look at churches and you look at what happens when a politician is running. And, you know, I don't have anything against them, but many of the pastors will allow their service to be preempted by somebody who's running.
Absolutely.
That's disrespectful to God, first of all. You know, you running for office, you need to stay at the service, and at the end, guess what? But the whole issue is, are you going to stay for the service for the word of God, and do you love the Lord enough to? I'm not saying they don't. So I'm, you know, nobody say, oh, he's a hater. No, it's not that. But I watch that even in churches. And
you watch them come in, do their little speech,
they
and leave.
come in, and you look, and he's got his assistant. Next thing you know, the service is preempted, and the politician is up there talking about what he wants to do. So yeah, they hold them in higher regard. They should be held in high regard, but not above God and the service of the church.
Okay.
And I've seen it for 20 years. Politician come in, you know, the mayor come in, and guess what? All of a sudden he's giving immediate attention. He can preempt the program. Oh, the choir was singing, but listen, we got the mayor here, and he's on a tight time schedule. Come on up, mayor. You know.
So you don't think the pastor should do that? Do you think that
I don't think they should.
Okay, what do you guys think? Do you guys think
I
that
don't think they should.
I think they should allow the politicians to come and speak
to be able to speak to the masses?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
I know that there's
they
some
go
people
to churches because there are a lot of people at churches, and I think it gives the average churchgoer some sort of window into who these leaders are.
I mean, I know a lot of my peers don't even know who's running for mayor, or if I can go to them, they don't even know who their local council person is.
Okay, let me just say this. I agree with what you said, but the manner in which it's done, to preempt the service, stop the service, because we don't, you know, we
I don't
got
think that's appropriate.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they should because you want people to vote. You want to, and the Black church is been the number one vehicle to bring change in the African American communities for over 40 years, going back to Dr. King. That's why it was such a powerful movement as it went through the church. You look at all the church leaders worldwide, not just here in the United States. With Nelson Mandela, he came out of the church.
Okay.
So God had loosed these prophets all over to bring change. And so, yeah, it's pertinent for the politicians to come. They should have audience, but it should be in a normal flow. They should have an appointment.
Part of the program.
Yeah, it should be part of the program.
Okay.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Valerie said that we should advocate for more power in City Hall. What else should we be advocating for in terms of housing and retail and you know, Marlton Square, things like these major redevelopment projects? So what should we be advocating for the Black community when it comes to this next mayoral candidate?
We have to drill down and decide what are the policies of the next administration. How are they going to best meet the needs of the African American community? That's going to take some work and some research. And then once we decide what the policies are, then begin to try to help to get those policies implemented.
Okay. What about you, Michael?
Well, let me just digress for a second.
Okay.
As a kid, I can remember Billy Mills and Kenny Hahn coming to my church, and I didn't know what a politician was, but you would see them there all the time. So this is something that just is part of our political system. Now, whether or not too much time is devoted to it or time is devoted to it in the wrong way, we could always debate that. But I think the fact that the churches are a place where people convene is why you get it. Now, to the extent churches don't become the place where people convene anymore, I think you're going to see it shift where they will go wherever the bodies are. So if you lose the ability to get large people in the room, the politicians are going to go wherever they can get the word.
And the ministers will lose their power.
Right.
Absolutely.
The minister is very, very powerful. That's why it's so important that they understand the power matrix of City Hall and how the financial world operates, because the world looks to them for leadership, and then oftentimes they don't have the knowledge to move us forward.
Amen.
Okay.
So one other thing I'd like to point out, I got an email this morning. I'm a member of virtually all of the chambers. We're a member of the Greater LA Chamber of Commerce for probably about a decade or so. So I got this email from their PAC this morning, and it was listing these endorsements for candidates that are running for city council. There was not an endorsement listed for any candidate in the 9th district.
Really? Why?
That's why I asked. Because I remember says, well, why are we not endorsing somebody from the 9th district? As soon as I find out, I'll let you know why there was no endorsement.
I mean, the majority of the candidates are black for the 9th.
So this is just another example, though, of when you have the business community deciding who ought to, carry the water for them. Where is the business community that is focused in on South LA saying this is who we believe is the best qualified candidate to do that?
And where are our major black PACs? What are our black? Is there a super black PAC? I mean, do we have our own where we are? I mean, I know there's Bay PAC and I know there's some Law PAC, but really, I mean, where are the tangible PACs that are actually doing something and really investing in black political legacies?
On my little meager nonprofit salary, I write a lot of checks. Nobody's asked me from a black PAC to give them money for a candidate.
Okay. All right. So we're about to come down towards the end of the hour.
Didn't ask you for no money, huh?
I'm going to start with you, Apostle Ward. How can people find you? And give us your last words on the Black Agenda.
Okay. Let me start where they can find me. I have a telephone number information. Telephone number 310-672-2904. Website www.wardint.org. And then there's you can make contact with me through that link. There's a contact us link on there, and you can make contact with me there. But I have a movement to help nonprofits and churches create money. It's called Commerce with a Cause.
Excellent.
High schools, football schools, churches, and it has 3 or 4 different components. We will be launching that. I'm hoping that the first component of it, the first component is World Financial Group, to bring people into that, because people can add $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to their income, while they learn financial literacy and go forward. So we want to do that. Anybody that's interested in the opportunity to go to work in financial services, please call me at 310-672-2904.
Excellent. Valerie, how can people find you?
I'm at City Hall, room 361. My number is 213-978-0252.
And how can they find out more about the Board of Public Works?
They can email me at valerie.shaw@lacity.org.
Excellent. Michael, how can people find you?
By phone, 800-366-1178. That's 800-366-1178. You can go to our website, which is www.LosAngelesLDC.com. Make sure you spell Los Angeles all the way out, and that's LosAngelesLDC.com. Or you can always Google Michael Banner, and I'm not the old white guy.
Thank you, Commissioner Valerie Shaw, Michael Banner, Apostle Chris Ward. Thank you so much all for joining us here for our month-long conversation on the Black Agenda. Please make sure you check out DWBLA for our larger conversation in May at the LA Convention Center. Next week, we start a new series, Out of the Mouths of Babes. We're going to be talking to high school students about what they're doing, from sex, drug, rock and roll, sex trafficking, all of that. So make sure you tune in next month when we bring kids, actual kids, into our studio. So thank you so much for tuning into the dialogue. Today, I'm your host, Starlett Quarles, signing off as my mama's child and my daddy's baby girl. Until next week.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.